Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I am live. I'm going to try this StreamYard program again. I realize that there might be a delay, but that will be okay. I think it'll be okay for this one. So if you're here, let me know in the chat. I'm going to make a note on Instagram and let everybody know that I'm here. Hey, Pamela, thanks for letting me know that you can hear me. I'm going to just do this thing real quick on Instagram and get started. Today, our podcast is about wildlife and fire safety tips and how to start a fire, which I have this really cool website that I'm going to share with you guys. I'm going to attempt to share my screen with you today. We'll see how that goes. I'm just going to wait a few more minutes and let everybody hop on. Hey, Corey. All right. I've got a few more things to share, and then that's it. What are you guys drinking today? I've got water. Good old water. I've been on a diet of under 1,000 calories every day, and it's been working really well. But yesterday I had my first real cheat day, which was pizza, and it's kind of killing me now. So I guess that means the diet worked. It's working, so. Ooh, Corey is gardening right now. And actually, I have something to share about Corey. She sent me this really nice shower tent from my Amazon wish list. So I want to really thank Corey. She's been a subscriber, and most importantly, she's been a really good friend of mine. I really enjoy hanging out with her. And she was kind enough to get me this shower tent that I had on my wish list. It's kind of just like a pop-up and go. So this will be really nice to have. I'm actually going to use it camping this coming week. And thank you so much, Corey. So if you have not checked out Casual Girl Adventures, please go check her out. She is pretty awesome. I wanted to share that with you guys. All right. So, welcome to the Memoirs and Mother Nature podcast. This is episode 2. This is a live podcast where you can share your stories here on YouTube. And then later on in the week, I will upload this podcast to the podcast platform. So if you missed last week's podcast, it was kind of a rough start, but we did really well sharing stories of getting stuck. I was able to save the audio from that. And then once I saved the audio from that, I uploaded it to the podcast platforms. So it will be it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and Anchor podcast. So go check it out. If you don't have time to watch the last one, you can listen to it in your car. So that's pretty cool. All right. So, hey, Cass. Cass is listening, and he voice texted that. That's pretty awesome. I've got a lot of good friends on here. Hey, Chris. So if I don't reply to, I'm going to get rid of this real quick. If I don't reply to you quickly, then it's because there's a delay. So, okay, I have this little overlay thing. I'm going to see what happens. Okay, this is a little better. I'm going to try a new one next time. All right, so we've got the comments going. Okay, so today we are going to talk about our wildlife encounters, and that's where I'm going to start out because the more difficult thing of sharing my computer is going to happen next. So I deleted all the controversial things off of my desktop, so hopefully that helps. And I want to know about your wildlife encounters. I've got a few that I'm going to share. I'm going to try to share some pictures with you, but let's start off with some of your encounters. When I share my encounters, I'm going to speak about the time that I went to Glacier National Park and I saw a mountain goat for the first time, which is commonly confused with the Bighorn Sheep for some reason. People do confuse that, maybe because of their horns. Pamela cannot stay long. That's okay. Oh my gosh. I'm praying for you guys in those snowstorms. You know, Las Vegas was actually pretty warm for quite a while, and I was really getting excited for the warm weather. And just this past week, it's been windy, rainy, and it snowed again up in the mountains. But I'm heading to the river next week, so should be a lot warmer there, and I'm excited to play in the water. Okay, so maybe I can share my screen. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, let's see. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. This is pretty exciting. I can see everybody in the chat. Hello. Look how many there are of me. It's kind of scary. Okay, so I'm going to share some pictures that I took of wildlife. And I wanted to just share these with you. I'm hoping that you can still see. Okay. I'm going to just go for it. Okay, so the first time I encountered wildlife in my adventures, what I would think is substantial, is the time that I encountered some burros at the Saline Valley hot springs, which are in Death Valley. They're one of my favorite hot springs. And I was camping there with an ex-boyfriend, and these guys were so friendly. They came up to us, and a little too friendly now that I know better, but they were just so cute. I really enjoyed seeing them, and they let me take their picture. They were just so photogenic, and I'll never forget that, my first time seeing, something larger than a bird out in wildlife. All right. So that was my first time seeing wildlife. I want to hear about your guys' stories. Your first time encountering wildlife. So I'm going to give you a moment to share. And if you do have a picture that you would want to send to me, you want to share with your story, you can always email me. And my email's in the description below, outandaboutwithdiane@gmail.com. And if you have any pictures that you'd like to send before this is up, then we will show them on the screen. How about that? Hey, Dave, how's it going? We were just talking about wildlife encounters, and I shared one of my first experiences with wildlife encounters. I think that it's just something so special that we get to share the earth with amazing creatures. And it's important that when we do encounter wildlife that we keep our distance, because they are wild animals and we want them to remain wild, because obviously they become dependent on people. If you start feeding them and showing them affection or whatever, they start becoming more dependent on people, and then they're not so wild anymore, and sometimes they don't survive. So it's really important. All right. Not that I can see yet, but I don't know if anybody's shared anything yet. So I'm going to open my email my email box just in case somebody decides to share, if they want to share a picture. Okay, let's move on. Let's check out the next one. This was the first time I had seen a marmot. They live at higher elevations. Oops. They live in higher elevations. I saw this in Glacier National Park, and it was just so cute. This guy was so busy, and he even had a girlfriend nearby, so that was really cute to see. And look at the scenery in the background there. That is pretty awesome. Okay. Dumpling Wanders, my friend Cass, he said while driving the 95 between Tonopah and Mina, he came across a massive Mormon cricket migration, and it was amazing. He even hung out with them for a few hours while watching. I've never seen the Mormon cricket infestation or, yeah, like you said, migration, and I'm not sure how I would react. I'm not really afraid of crickets or anything, but I'm not a huge fan of beetles. And from the pictures I've seen, they do look like crickets, but they kind of look more like they look like beetles too. So I'm not sure if I can deal with that many. I've seen several Wonder Hussy videos of her encountering the Mormon crickets while visiting some hot springs, and I'm just kind of glad I haven't been in that situation. I guess it's probably better if you can just stay in your car. But yeah, that's a pretty interesting one. When you think of wildlife, a lot of people think of mammals or birds or reptiles, but they always forget the insects too. So that's a really good one to bring up. Chris says he has deer and elk in the mountains and got a family of squirrels in the trees in his yard. I love seeing the elk. I love deer too, but there's just something about a bull elk that is just so majestic. I love seeing them out in the fields and in the pastures, and I'm sure that the farmers think differently. I don't think they want them out there, but there is just something like, I don't know, it's just a magical. They just have this, I don't know. They're pretty incredible creatures, and the deer here are pretty awesome too. The mule deer is so unique compared to the white-tailed deer. There's not too many mule deer out here, and it's amazing to see how they survive compared to their cousins over on the East Coast, where it's more green and they have a lot to eat out there. So that's interesting. Corey says her first time seeing wild horses was last summer out in Cold Creek. They got close, and it was an amazing experience. And she has a video that she would like to share, and she will send it to me. So before the podcast is over, I will share that video with you guys. Just tell him to send it to outandaboutwithdiane at gmail.com. And if you're listening to the podcast, I will probably put a Google Drive together. And if you guys share stuff with me in the email, let me know if I can share it with the podcast folks. And I will put a Google Drive together for them with a link, so they don't have to watch this whole video, but they can go down and see some of our pictures that we're sharing. Does anybody else have any wildlife stories? I'm going to share my screen again. Let's see. I don't know how it's looking. I'm going to go back and rewatch this podcast to make sure it looks somewhat decent. Okay, these little guys. Everybody loves a cute little duck. I think the ducks are just so cute. Those little mallard ducks, and I'm not sure what this tan duck is. I'm not sure what species it is, but these guys were just so cute. They were wanting to be fed, but like I said, I'm not really a big believer in feeding wildlife, and that includes the ducks. When people feed them all that bread, they get all poopy, and then the area gets kind of gross and the water gets gross. They're okay. They can feed themselves, but they are really cute to look at. This was a spring morning in Cold Creek. All right, let's see. Anybody else got any wildlife stories? I know I keep asking. We've got 10 people watching, and I'm not viewing this on YouTube. So if you haven't hit the like button yet, hit the like button. And if you're new here, consider subscribing, because we do this every Sunday at 1 p.m. This is a live stream podcast, and the audio will go over on your favorite podcast platform. I'm still learning all this technology too. Chris says, just outside of Reedsport in Oregon, there's a viewing place where you can go see the herds of elk next to the road. I bet that is pretty awesome. And if you're a photographer, that's probably a pretty good place to go. Pamela says, the only thing you have to fear, I'm guessing she's making a reference to the Mormon crickets. The only thing you have to fear is fear itself and bears. Bears freak her out. Bye, Pamela. Pamela has to go. I'll see you next time. I have seen a bear. We saw a few grizzly bears in Glacier National Park. And one time when I was at the house that I grew up in when I was a lot younger, there was a bear in our yard. But it was a really tiny, it was like a brown bear, but it was or maybe a black bear, but it was really small. Maybe larger than a large dog. It wasn't too big. Hey, Nika, welcome to the podcast. All right, let's share the next picture. I'm going to go with a pretty cool place. All right. Okay, so, oops. This is, sorry guys. Here we go. This is at Kirch Wildlife Management Area. This is part of the Nevada Department of Wildlife system. This is one of their areas in Nevada. And this pond is actually it's a stream. It's warm. It's about 92 to 93 degrees. And there were some really unique fish in there. So these are some of the fish that were in there. I'm not sure if these were full grown or whatnot, but with the GoPro, I did have a video. I'm not able to pull it up now, but in the video, you can see it on YouTube. These fish were really pretty. They were very tropical, and they were called Mormon. I forgot what they were called, but they had the name Mormon in them. They were like Mormon whitefish or something. I'll have to look it up. So those were pretty neat. Nico loves the adventures and the dogs. Thank you. Bruce and I are going to go kayaking next week, so stay tuned for that. That'll be my first time kayaking with a dog. Jerry said his son almost grabbed a 6-foot rattlesnake in Big Sur several years ago. Well, I'm glad he didn't, unless he had experience. You know, the rattlesnakes only scare me because of my dogs. I need to get them in the rattlesnake avoidance course. But I'm not really too afraid of rattlesnakes. In snake season, I'll wear boots and I wear better pants just in case. But I don't put my hands where I can't see them. And I try to watch out for the most part. So I have come across some rattlesnakes on the PCT in the Deep Creek area. I grew up around there, and I've seen them growing up. Our house was on a raised foundation, so we had a ton of rattlesnake egg and rattlesnake problems growing up, so pretty used to it. Scott said he's from Colorado. Hello from Nevada. I would love to visit Colorado. He said, did I see the video of the mountain lion following the man in Utah for 6 minutes? I did, and it gave me chills to just think about that. And I think that guy really did keep his cool and his composure. I'm not sure how I would have done it. I probably would have just peed my pants. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but it is smart to kind of put yourself in those situations, or not put yourself in that situation, but mentally think about what you would do in that situation. So, picking up the rock, throwing it, never turning your back. But, it's kind of like, do you want to bend down and pick something up when that thing is at eye level? What do you want to do? I don't know. I can't say I would have done it much better, or probably would have been worse. Okay. Hey, Owen. 3 weeks ago, he saw one bull elk, sorry. One bull elk and 5 cow elk up in the Spring Mountains. Oh, and that is hey, Owen, I remember meeting you out in the Red Springs. I do remember that. But he saw those out in the Spring Mountains, and that is a great place to see those elk up in the Cold Creek area, which is such a phenomenal place for wildlife, because in the same shot, if you're a photographer or into photography or just wildlife viewing, you can see a bull or a cow elk, you can see a mule deer, you can see wild horses. It's just incredible up there. There's so many great large mammal, type animals up there. We don't have bears in the Spring Mountains, so that's kind of nice. Dumpling Wanders says he's not sure what it is with him and insects, but when he stopped near Fort Churchill trying to get some shots of an amazing sunset, he got attacked by a swarm of the most gigantic mosquitoes he's ever seen. He thought there wasn't supposed to be mosquitoes in the desert. Oh, there are. I have the worst reaction to mosquito bites. It will welt me forever, and I get a bruise afterwards. It is just insane. Ask Jocelyn. One of my favorite mosquito stories is when Jocelyn and I were in Eagle Valley. There's a bunch of, kind of marshy areas, and we hiked to the stone cabin, and then we took the road back. Well, the road goes right along this marshy swamp thing, and we were getting attacked by mosquitoes through our clothes, through the DEET and everything, and it hurt, and some of those suckers were pretty big, and I just remember running down the road screaming and crying, trying to get away from them. It's funny now, but oh my gosh, it was ridiculous. Jocelyn said I am her bug repellent, and that is true. That is true. I don't know what it is. It's my blood. I think I'm O negative. They say it's your blood type. Owen said he saw those elk up in Level Canyon. That is a great place to see them too. All right. Let me check my email to see. Corey, I haven't received anything from you. Okay, so let me share some. Oh, if you're just hopping onto the podcast, if you want to share some pictures of the wildlife that you have, if you want to share that with us, you can email it to me at outandaboutwithdiane@gmail.com, and then I'll put them on the screen, and then we'll share them with the podcast folks up in a Google Drive. Hello, James. Welcome to the podcast. I'm glad to have you here. Right now we are sharing stories about wildlife encounters, but I think I might be moving on soon to fire safety. We're already at 25 minutes, and I've got this really cool website that I want to share with you guys, so I do need to get an extra screen. I know there's 2 behind me, but yeah, it is what it is. So let's add my screen again. Sorry, my allergies are just awful. So this was my first time ever seeing a mountain goat, which was really awesome. The difference between, I'm not sure what the difference in the horns are. I think the mountain goat's horns are solid throughout, and a bighorn sheep is hollow throughout. I'm not sure if the horns on the goat are made of keratin also, but I know that the bighorn sheep is made of keratin. If you've got your 2 cents, you can put it in the comments and school us a little bit. But this guy, he was planted there by the park. I'm just kidding. No, but it kind of seemed like he was planted there because he just stayed for pictures. People were getting a little too close. So this is the bighorn sheep, and you can see they're significantly different. They get rings for every year that they have a rut. So if you see these big ones, these big creases, those are rings, and they'll get those every time they rut. And that's how you can age them approximately. But this guy, he was in Glacier National Park also. And here's one last picture of the mountain goat. He is just so adorable and so fluffy. All right. Okay, Corey, you still have time, and if we can't watch it during the live stream, we can still put it in the file and we can share it with everyone. They can look at it later. What I was thinking about doing was maybe creating a Facebook group just for Memoirs and Mother Nature. So later on, you guys can share pictures and we can go back and forth. I do have another group called Outside Las Vegas. It's for camping and stuff. If you want to join that, you can. But I did think about just creating a Facebook group just so we can share stuff after the podcast and kind of keep it nice and neat. But this is a lot of fun. James said he watched my geocaching video. It is a lot of fun. I'm going to do some geocaching here soon in Arizona next week. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, are we ready to learn about fire starting and fire safety? I'm not going to go through it a whole lot. I just browsed through this website, but I did get the best resource I could find. Of course, it's Smokey Bear. Where else are you going to get the most accurate fire information? So we are going to click on that. Let's share our screen. Okay. So this link to this website is in the description. If you guys have any tips, you can share your own tips in the chat box, and we're going to go over that in a little bit. So there's all of this information. It's so nice. Campfire safety, all this stuff, how to pick your camp spot. So how to pick your campfire spot. And this is great. I feel like anybody can interpret this. So if you have friends who need this information, please give them this website. It says, do not build a campfire if the campground area prohibits it. Come on. Let's not break the rules. Do not build a campfire in hazardous or dry conditions. So even if there isn't a rule, use your best judgment. Find out if the campground has an existing fire ring. If you use existing fire rings, we can minimize the damage that we do, and we can practice leave no trace. If there's not an existing fire pit and pits are allowed, choose a site that is at least 15 feet from your tent, shrubs, trees, and other flammable objects. So this, without boring you, this is a really cool site. I think this is pretty cool. So you guys should check it out. I have the link in the description, and it'll be in the show notes for the podcast. So that's pretty cool. I didn't lose anybody. I don't want to bore you, but if you have any tips for starting a fire or fire safety, please leave them in the chat because I want to read them with everybody. Owen is suggesting a book that helped him see a lot more wildlife, and it's called Tom Brown's Guide to Nature, Observation, and Tracking. I will find a link to that on Amazon, and I will leave it in the description for you guys. If you're here, hit the like button. I'm so thankful that all of you are here listening or watching. It really does mean a lot to me. I've had so much support lately. It's just incredible, and it makes me feel awesome. And I'm glad we can have this little community of people that have something in common. We all love nature, and we all want to preserve it and just keep it nice for future generations. I think that is something that we should all think about. I am just so congested. I'm so sorry. All right. So I do want to share a little bit more of this website with you guys. And if you're listening to the podcast, the link to the website is in the description. So you can learn how to build your campfire on this website, how to prepare your fire pit, which is pretty awesome. So there's different steps with graphics that will show you how to circle the pit with rocks, how deep to dig, and when your pit is ready for the campfire. This website also says in 2019, 87% of wildfires were caused by humans. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable. You can prevent wildfires. We should be doing better. So that was that. All right. So I'm probably going to sign off from this live stream unless anybody else has anything that they want to share about their wildlife encounters. You can certainly do that. If you are jumping on here late onto the video podcast, you can share your experiences in the comments. I reply to every comment on my channel, and I would love to interact with you. And if you are listening to the podcast, you can email me at outandaboutwithdiane@gmail.com if you want to interact any more. I am also putting together an email list. If you want to be part of my emails, you can fill out the form in the description. I'll get the form in there shortly. Dumpling Wander says, if you can fit it into your gear, bring a shovel camping. It helps with making a fire pit and managing the campfire and digging a hole for your poo. So I always carry a shovel for all of those reasons, and I've had to dig myself out of circumstances while driving. So the shovel really does come in handy. You can get a pretty cheap Ozark Trail shovel that would work, but if you can get a short shovel from like Lowe's and just either put it on your roof rack, or maybe you can put it in where your spare tire goes or something, that'd be awesome. James is asking if I know of any desert blooms going on yet. You know what? I haven't seen any yet. I did take a picture of a creosote bush that I saw in Death Valley that was blooming. None of the other ones were blooming, so I was pretty excited to see that. But we just had another cold snap. So I mentioned this before. We have a late winter. I usually go by the Farmer's Almanac to see what the weather's going to do. So we're probably going to have a late and a short spring. That's what I'm guessing. So hopefully we do get to see some of those flowers. At first, our rain looked pretty slim, but I don't know. We've gotten quite a bit of rain lately, so we'll see. And snow. Thank you, Jerry. He said, looking forward to future videos. So we will be doing the podcast every Sunday at 1 p.m. unless for some reason I am out where I don't have service. I'm going camping next week, and I might be doing the live stream from on location if I have service. So I'm hoping to do the first podcast on location. I think that would be a lot of fun. It's okay, Corey. If you want to share it later, you can put it in the email, and then I'll put it in the Google Drive, and we can share it some other time, or I can share it on the next podcast, okay? All right. Well, I gotta go get my camping stuff ready. Bruce and I are going to meet up with Jocelyn, and I've got another girlfriend coming, and I'm gonna go do some kayaking on the Colorado River. I've got some other plans. I think Jocelyn and I are going to go to Oatman one of those days and just scope that out. I want to do some geocaching, and I would also I want to do some rock hounding too. So I've got a full week planned, and I got to go get my stuff ready. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next live stream podcast. And oh, one more thing. Do we have any topics that we want to talk about on the next podcast? You guys really helped me out this time. These 2 topics came from your ideas from last time. So if you have any topics that we should talk about in the next podcast, leave it here in the chat. I'll leave it up for just another few seconds, and then we will cover those topics next time. I do have some guests that I would like to bring on here soon. I want to bring on my friends, the Trekking Pals, and I have some other folks that I would like to bring on. Just need to get their permission first. So, yeah. Alrighty. I'm going to sign off now. See you guys later. Bye.